Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of How to Bind your n52 in WoW. This is Grendalsh, and we'll be looking at how to actually do WoW bindings in WoW today. So, we got our n52, we got our gnome. Hey there, stop slacking on the job, stand up. There we go, alright. And take a bow. This little gentleman's name is Porter. Alright, and he'll be our guinea pig for what we're doing today here. Alright. Got a Belkin bindings up here. This is generic bindings up here. We're going to cover movement key bindings first. Right off the bat, we have movement keys, the first thing in here. You'll notice I have move forward, move backwards. Is up arrow, down arrow, strafe left arrow, right arrow. Turn left and right is numpad 7 and 9. Now over here on the Belkin, on the n52, remember, we have bound D-pad north, east, west, southwest. Those are the default D-pad movements, and the diagonals put numpad 7 and 9. So you can see here now, D-pad north, east, southwest actually passes the cursor arrows. So up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, right arrow. Turn left, turn right, numpad 7 and 9. Okay, this has an added benefit. If you usually use WAS, and you accidentally happen to have a chat panel up, and let's say you're being attacked by a murloc. Yes, exactly like that. If you have the chat panel open and you start typing WAS to move, you get, and then you die. And somebody somewhere gets this message. However, if you're using your cursor keys, which we have bound to our D-pad here, and you have your chat panel open, and you don't finish it, then you decide it's time to run. Well, by gum, you can run. And there we go. Okay, so now we're going to cover the key bindings for the main action bar down here. Now, by default, these are set as 1 through equals, which is the num row on your keyboard. So you can see 1 through 0, minus and equals, and then showing up here 1, 2, 3, yada yada, minus and equals, which we bound all those up here in that basic 3x3 grid, plus minus, equals, and 0. Okay, there's a mindset behind that. We'll get into it later. The big one, though, as for instance minus and equals, everybody's got attack, everybody's got some sort of throne except for paladins, but they've got judgment, which you use all the time. So these two buttons right here sort of are outside of all of the other abilities that you'd be using normally. These are all controlled. 1 through 9 are all controlled by your middle 3 fingers, right in here. These two are controlled by your index finger because that's the finger you use the most, and it's the easiest to get to. And then we have 0 right here, down on the thumb pad. And that takes it pretty much out of standard play, puts it down there for things that you only use every so often, like your 30-minute cooldown abilities, your Desperate Prayer, your 1 hour, things that you want to know exactly where they are, because when you need them, by God, you need them. You don't want to accidentally press the wrong one. You want to know where it is. Well, guess what? It's right there. You'll never miss it. Alright. Special action buttons. These are your stance buttons, right? Warrior, your stance. If your druid deforms, rogue is stealth. We can map these as well. I'm using control up arrow and control down arrow, which means I'm using B06 plus the D-pad. Control up arrow for, in this case, being balance, and battle stance, and control left arrow being defensive stance. Take a quick look at that. Control and D-pad forward, control and D-pad left. And there we go. If I had Fury, it'd be control and D-pad right, just because it's easy to get to. As you can see, that just moved me right. Control right doesn't have anything bound to it, so the control gets ignored, the right gets passed, I get movement. So there's some transparency on this using the Shift and Control Alt for modifiers. Alright, for our next piece here, so we cover special action buttons, and that covers your stances, and we're all happy with that. If, for instance, you're a hunter or a pet class, the secondary action buttons control your pet bar, so you can bind to those as well. For instance, I generally use control for these bindings, which gives you control 1 through control 0 for your pet abilities. That's always helpful. Alright. previous action bar, next action bar. Again, we're using the D-pad with the combo here. Shift up arrow and shift down arrow. So B01, left shift, and up arrow forward. Now, most of my the rest of my characters actually use this, shift right, shift left to move it, and I use this for focusing, or targeting focus. So, actually, I'm going to use this. I'm going to say, go away, and go away. Because this is actually a little bit more easier to remember, because, basically up and down with your thumb, he scrolls this up and down. But anyway, and what that does for you here, right, is shifts this page here. So you've got these buttons here, right? You can also do, yay, there it is, see? Okay, and this is what I was talking earlier. Here's all your action combat stuff you use in action or in combat. Here's all your out of action combat in this particular case. Your crafting stuff. If I had fishing, that would go down here, possibly a fishing pole, maybe my mount, if I had one. Anything else I wanted, maybe food, things like that I'd want, to be able to access silly pets. See, like that silly pet right there. That kind of thing you might want to put down here so that it's out of your face whenever you're doing actual combat. Alright, the next thing you want to cover is setting up your key bindings for an actual new bar. So we're going to do, we've got shift bound to this bar here, which is bottom left bar, which is there, shift 1 through shift equals. See there, shift 1 through shift equals. We're going to set up the bottom right bar, and we're going to set that up using Alt. Now in this case, we're going to be doing B11 down here, and this grid, and the 2, and the 0. So I'm going to just show you here. I'm using the n52 keys to do this, not the keyboard. So these are the buttons that I want to press on the n52 in order to access this action bar. So for instance, in this case, we're doing Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Alt 4, Alt 5, Alt 6, Alt 7, Alt 8, Alt 9, Alt 0, Alt minus, Alt equals. And there they are. Ta-da! All of that here. You also have the ability in here. We could bind right action bar 1, which is this. We could use, for instance, the control series to access those. Use the default right action bar 2, control here. We can also use control shift if I really wanted to. So for instance, let's do that. Control shift 1, control shift 2, control shift 3, like that. And you see down here, my target functions are being unbound. I'll show you that here next. Okay, so we just unbound most of my raid targeting icons, which you'll now see. Most of them are unbound here. So for instance, I have a certain pattern to this, and that way I can remember it. I don't actually have to have the icons on the screen. These, the minus and equals, B05, B10 being the most used for me. I have them set to cross and skull. I also have clear the target, control shift 0. I also use moon, that's a sheep. I use, let's see, diamond, mind control, right? Moon, or no, I'm sorry, square, right? Got square, and that's for traps and such. Then we've got, I want this guy to be target number 2, and he gets the circle, and then star gets target number 3, and triangle target number 4. But there they are. There's a mnemonic to them, and now I don't even have to have them on an action bar, but they're all available as a virtual action bar through using Control Shift, which again is using the pinky row here, B01, B06, which you can press both at the same time, and then this inner pattern here and the rest of the bars. As we've now shown how you can control at least 3, 4, and possibly even 5 if you really want to deal with it, action bars just using one mode in the n52, using Shift, Control, and Alt as modifiers. So realistically, all of these values in here, almost irrelevant. The real thing is how you bind them in WoW. And if you've got them set up in here so that they don't interfere with anything else, you come into WoW, you set up your key bindings, you bind them, you press the n52 button that you want bound to action bar, special action bar 6 on here, it goes in here, and now it's bound to that, and all you have to do is press that button that you want to be special action button 6, and it doesn't matter what the value is. It could be Control Shift F3. It wouldn't matter. So there you go. That's the bindings. Next up, I don't know, I hadn't thought that far, but we'll be doing something else fun. Alright, in the meantime, this has been Grendalsh. You've been seeing how to use the n52 with WoW.